Why perfectionism feels attractive. Have you ever set such high standards for yourself that nothing you did ever felt good enough? Maybe you rewrote an email 10 times before sending it. Maybe you delayed starting a project for months because you wanted it to be flawless. Maybe you achieved something impressive, but instead of celebrating, you obsessed over the one tiny detail that wasn't perfect. That's the trap of perfectionism. At first glance, perfectionism doesn't sound like a problem. In fact, many people wear it as a badge of honor. Job applicants proudly say, "My biggest weakness is that I'm a perfectionist." It sounds like a humble brag, like we're hardworking, careful, and committed to excellence. And it's true, striving for excellence is healthy. Wanting to improve, to grow, to deliver quality, that's powerful. But perfectionism is not excellence. It's the toxic shadow of excellence. The difference between healthy striving and perfectionism: healthy striving says, "I want to do my best, and I'll learn along the way." Perfectionism says, "If it isn't perfect, I am a failure." Healthy striving is about growth. Perfectionism is about fear. Perfectionism is less about being perfect, and more about avoiding shame. Deep down, perfectionists often think, "If I do everything flawlessly, I'll finally be enough. No one can criticize me. No one can reject me." But here's the trap: perfection is impossible. And the harder you chase it, the more it slips away. Instead of giving you peace, perfectionism leaves you anxious, critical, and exhausted. Why perfectionism is so attractive? If perfectionism is so harmful, why do so many of us fall into it? Because it feels safe. Control. Perfectionism gives us the illusion of control. If we can make things flawless, maybe we can prevent pain, rejection, or failure. Validation. Our culture rewards achievement. From grades in school to likes on social media, we're praised when we perform well. Perfectionism promises endless approval, if only we never make a mistake. Identity. For some, perfectionism becomes part of who they are. "I'm the reliable one. The one who never slips up." But what starts as motivation quickly becomes a prison. Instead of inspiring us, perfectionism paralyzes us. The hidden fear beneath perfectionism: at its core, perfectionism is not about high standards. It's about fear of not being enough. Fear of failure. If I'm not perfect, I'll prove I'm inadequate. Fear of rejection. If I make mistakes, people won't accept me. Fear of vulnerability. If I show flaws, people will see the real me. So perfectionism isn't a strength, it's armor. But armor that gets heavier every day. What we'll explore in this video: in this session, we'll explore the difference between healthy standards and toxic perfectionism. The hidden costs of perfectionism on our lives, health, and relationships. Stories of people trapped in perfectionism, and how they broke free. Practical strategies to release unrealistic standards and embrace good enough. Because here's the truth: perfection is not the goal. Progress is. And once you let go of impossible standards, you can finally experience freedom, creativity, and authentic growth. The hidden costs of perfectionism: at first, perfectionism looks like it helps us succeed. But over time, it quietly steals more than it gives. Let's explore the hidden costs. 1. Paralysis and procrastination. Ironically, perfectionists often get less done. Because if it can't be perfect, they delay starting. A blank page feels safer than a flawed draft. But waiting for perfect conditions means projects stall, dreams fade, and opportunities pass. 2. Burnout and exhaustion. Perfectionists work endlessly, tweaking every detail, staying up late, chasing flawless results. But the more they give, the less satisfied they feel. No matter how much effort, it's never enough. This endless cycle leads to burnout, stress, and even health problems. 3. Creativity blocked. Perfectionism kills creativity. Creativity requires risk, messiness, and mistakes. But perfectionists fear mistakes, so they avoid experimenting, avoid innovating, and stick only to what feels safe. As a result, their potential remains locked. 4. Strained relationships. Perfectionism doesn't just affect the self, it spills into relationships. A perfectionist boss micromanages employees. A perfectionist parent places unrealistic expectations on children. A perfectionist partner criticizes instead of connecting. Over time, relationships strain under the weight of constant judgment. 5. Loss of joy. When nothing is ever good enough, life becomes a checklist, not a celebration. Achievements bring no satisfaction, only relief that they weren't failures. Instead of joy, perfectionists feel emptiness. Stories of perfectionism. Sophia the student, Sophia always earned top grades. But instead of pride, she felt constant anxiety. If she scored a 95, she obsessed over the missing 5%. Her identity was tied to flawless results. Only later, when she learned to value effort over outcome, did she find peace. David the designer, David delayed launching his portfolio for 2 years, endlessly tweaking. By the time he shared it, opportunities had passed. He realized that perfectionism had stolen his momentum. Elena the parent, Elena wanted to be the perfect mother. She compared herself to Instagram moms, always feeling inadequate. Over time, her kids felt her stress more than her love. When she embraced imperfection, messy dinners, honest conversations, her family grew closer. Why perfectionism hurts more than it helps. Perfectionism promises safety but delivers suffering. Instead of protecting you from failure, it creates a different kind of failure, failure to live fully. The cost is not just stress. It's missed opportunities, broken connections, joyless success. Perfectionism doesn't raise your life higher. It shrinks it smaller. Redefining standards. So how do we break free? The first step is to redefine what good enough means. Healthy standards versus perfectionism. Healthy standards aim for growth. Perfectionism demands flawlessness. Healthy standards inspire action. Perfectionism paralyzes action. Healthy standards celebrate progress. Perfectionism dismisses it. To escape perfectionism, we must embrace imperfection, not as failure, but as part of growth. The 80% rule. One powerful tool is the 80% rule. Instead of aiming for 100% flawless, aim for 80% complete, then release it. That final 20% of tweaking often brings little value but costs enormous energy. By accepting good enough, you free time, energy, and creativity. The minimum viable step. Another tool is to focus on the smallest possible step. Instead of waiting for the perfect plan, ask, what is the simplest step I can take today? Progress comes from starting, not perfecting. Stories of freedom. J.K. Rowling famously said, "It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all." Her early drafts weren't perfect, but starting imperfectly led to a global phenomenon. Steve Jobs was known for attention to detail, but also for releasing products imperfectly and improving later. Without that willingness, innovation would have stalled. Maya Angelou admitted that even after writing many books, she still feared they weren't good enough. But she kept publishing, and her words changed the world. Reframing mistakes as teachers. Perfectionists see mistakes as disasters. Resilient thinkers see them as data. Each mistake is proof of effort, each flaw a chance to learn. The only real mistake is refusing to try. The power of authenticity. When you let go of perfectionism, you create space for authenticity. People don't connect with your perfection. They connect with your honesty. Vulnerability builds intimacy, with yourself and others. Think about your favorite stories, songs, or speeches. They move you not because they're flawless, but because they're real. Breaking free from perfectionism isn't about lowering your standards. It's about raising your freedom. Practical tools. Now let's put this into practice. How can you escape the trap of perfectionism in daily life? 1. Notice the voice of the inner critic. Pay attention to the thoughts that whisper, "It's not good enough. You're not enough." Write them down. By naming them, you separate them from your identity. 2. Use the 80% rule. The next time you delay finishing something, ask, is this at least 80% good? If yes, release it. Progress matters more than polish. 3. Set process goals. Shift from outcome to process. Instead of, "I must publish a perfect book," try, "I'll write 500 words a day." The process is always within your control. 4. Schedule imperfect action. Once a week, do something deliberately imperfect, share a draft, cook a messy meal, post without editing 10 times. Train your brain to see imperfection as safe. 5. Replace comparison with curiosity. Instead of comparing yourself to others, ask, what can I learn from them? Comparison shrinks. Curiosity expands. 6. Celebrate attempts, not just results. Keep a courage log. Each time you try something despite fear, write it down. Over time, you'll see a record not of perfection, but of bravery. Story: Claire the musician. Claire loved writing songs but never shared them. She was terrified they weren't perfect. One day, she challenged herself to post a rough recording online. To her surprise, people loved it, not because it was flawless, but because it was raw and real. That moment freed her. Today, she performs regularly, proud not of perfection, but of courage. Perfectionism promises you safety, but it steals your freedom. It whispers, don't try unless it's flawless. Don't show up unless you can guarantee approval. Don't risk unless you know you'll succeed. But here's the truth, life is not lived in flawless moments. Life is lived in messy, courageous ones. The conversations that change us are rarely perfect. The art that moves us is often raw. The breakthroughs that define us are born out of trial and error, not polished certainty. The truth is simple, perfection doesn't exist. It's a moving target, an illusion that shifts every time you get close. And chasing it only keeps you running in circles. What does exist is progress. What exists is authenticity. What exists is growth. When you release perfection, you open space for creativity. You discover joy in the act of trying, not just in the result. You begin to measure yourself not by impossible standards, but by courage, effort, and honesty. And something remarkable happens. When you allow yourself to be human, you also give others permission to be human. Your imperfections don't push people away, they invite people in. Because people don't fall in love with your perfection. They connect with your realness. So this week, choose one area of your life where perfectionism has been holding you back. Maybe it's a project you keep postponing. Maybe it's words you've been afraid to share. Maybe it's a risk you've been waiting to take when the time is right. Take one imperfect action. Write the messy draft. Share the idea that's not fully formed. Speak up, even if your voice shakes. Cook the dinner that might burn, sing the song off key, press publish on something you know could be better. Because the most imperfect step forward will always beat the perfect step never taken. And when you look back on your life, you won't remember the flawless moments. You'll remember the brave ones. If this message resonated with you, comment one word, freedom. And in the next video, we'll explore loneliness in the modern world, why we feel alone even when connected.